Today, Precarious plays
Fire Emblem!
I thought this was going to be a lot scarier, but now that I'm actually looking at it, I don't know. But now that I've said that, this is going to be the map that I die on, so...
Why do you think you thought this was going to be a trial?
Just because of the numbers of specialized enemies. It's not just axe dude, sword dude, axe dude, sword dude, axe dude, sword dude. It's like mages and shit.
And Pegasus Knights.
Yeah, but I have the people to take care of the Pegasus Knights, which are probably the most imposing, and then all of these tin cans are gonna get roasted by Mr. Lucius over here.
Possibly not, because we'll have to see the exact area of effect of the magical seal man
Either way,
after he barfs everyone's magic away.
they don't have as good stats as I thought.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm going to talk about my favorite Final Fantasy. Have I told you about my favorite Final Fantasy?
9?
9, please. That is far from my favorite Final Fantasy. It's actually 7 away from my Final Fantasy.
Seriously?
Yeah.
No, you said it was...
That is an evasive tent.
Yeah.
I like to imagine Merlinus just picks up his wares and just shifts to the side. This is an interesting thing about Final Fantasy for me.
Yeah.
My favorite Final Fantasy is almost always, like, as far as like the numbered entries are concerned,
Yeah.
my favorite Final Fantasy is almost always whichever one I've played most recently. So currently my favorite Final Fantasy is the PlayStation re-release of Final Fantasy II. So because of some interesting, I'm just gonna say interesting and leave it at that, some interesting localization decisions, our Final Fantasy II in North America is not the Japanese Final Fantasy II.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure our Final Fantasy II, just for the sake of clarity, I believe it starred a gentleman named Cecil,
Yeah.
who is a dark knight that has to go on a quest to become a paladin. I think that's the. I'm pretty sure I'm remembering that correctly, and if not, Vale will correct me. The Japanese Final Fantasy II, Final Fantasy II proper, stars a war-orphaned youth named Farion and his family and friends. And I'm about to beat Final Fantasy II, which I've never done before, but I'm about to do it. It's pretty exciting. I actually really liked it. I tried playing it probably when I was about 12 or so, like the 12 to 14 range, late middle school, early high school. I actually got the collection, the Origins collection, so I could play and beat the original Final Fantasy. Wait, if Rebecca can reach the other one, she should probably go for that one, and then Dart should kill them.
I was just checking that. Oh, this is just gonna be bloody. I feel bad for them, kind of. No, I don't.
Well, you may not kill all 3 of them, which means there's a window of opportunity for the 3rd one to whip around and, I don't know, stab Priscilla or Lucius or maybe even like...
Well, hang on. Let's see what we can do to prevent that.
Oh, never mind.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I think we'll be okay.
Final Fantasy II and I did not get along well because I really just bought the Origins collection to beat Final Fantasy original recipe, right? Oh, sorry, Dart.
Oh, Dart, buddy.
He's got a lot more levels in him.
He's got a lot going for him anyway. Yeah, sure. 80%'s good enough.
I did not in my childhood, really understand the systems present in Final Fantasy II.
Yeah.
And I looked to the internet for help, and the internet has the wrong idea about Final Fantasy II.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought into that. The entire time, I've lived years of my life thinking that Final Fantasy II was just not very good. And it was just like this horrible grind fest, right?
Yeah.
Where they fucked up the design of the game and what you were supposed to do. Like, I actually believed that Final Fantasy II was broken. And what you were supposed to do was go outside of a town and have your characters beat the shit out of one another for a couple of hours until you matched or exceeded the enemies in the area, and then you would move on with the story.
Ooh.
Because that's what the internet told me was necessary, and I was struggling, so I believed them. I did not consult any walkthroughs before starting playing at this time. I just read the manual, and I followed the information that was in the game, and it worked out fine.
Peachy. This is like a little fort, right? This little guy?
That is some sort of temple, and someone is there.
I'm gonna go see.
Yeah.
Wow. Do we really not have... Well, there are 2 more Pegasus Knights.
Mm-hmm.
But they're just a little too far away. I might leave this brute squad up here to guard that, maybe. So we can go down here.
Hector should probably go meet up with Florina.
And I'm gonna bring the lords down this way.
Look at me being so appropriate, talking about an RPG while we're playing an RPG. Oh, here he is. Here's the guy. Okay. I made a mistake before. I thought a generic NPC was this guy. That's not the case. This is the one. He's the special one.
Do you want to voice him? Or...
Sure, absolutely, I'll voice him.
Okay.
That's you. You just gave him a nasally voice.
What? The magic power of this place. The source is distorted.
The weave, I can't see the weave.
I can't use any of my magic.
Lord Aeon, disaster, a magic seal.
The magic. That good for nothing has shown his face. Curses, I'd not foreseen this.
See, you don't know.
Good job voicing him, thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
That was a real load off of my slightly taxed voice. Oh, holy balls, right there. 2 in the chest. Just done.
I'd like to imagine Lucius with a gun. Bang, bang.
So
God gave me this gun.
So no one can use magic.
If they are standing, I believe, in those tiles, they can shoot magic into the zone, but they can't use it if they are already in the zone.
I'm gonna be risky.
That is very risky.
Yeah, you're right. It might be too risky.
Just because if you were only leaving one knight, that would be different. But having all 3 of them is probably too much. Actually, you can math it. Try. Oh, you can't because you can't conveniently because Lucius he would not be able to attack while adjacent to that knight to quickly check the numbers.
Well, Lucius can sharpen his skills on this guy down here.
Okay. So Final Fantasy II, I will probably go into more detail about the leveling system because it's really interesting and I like it. But just to finish what I was saying, this episode, it is surprising how effective the plot points have been. I can tell you more about the story and I can explain why there are important moments to me in Final Fantasy II's story much more clearly than I could about Final Fantasy 9. 7 or 13. I think that there are more effective emotional gut punches in, say, for me anyway, in Final Fantasy X. I'm thinking specifically about late in the game, your party, which primarily, like through most of the game, it consists of 3 youths who are war orphans turned war fighters. They join a group of, I hesitate to call them rebels. The game calls them rebels, but whenever you're fighting against like an actual demon army, I don't feel like you need to. You don't need to
That's
adopt
not
the
rebellious.
rebel. Yeah, you don't need to adopt the rebel mantle. You are rebels in the same way that Doom Guy from Doom is a rebel.
Yeah.
You inexplicably, even though you're just like 3 kids that wind up adventuring to aid these rebels, you wind up being like the backbone of all of the... You wind up being like their SEAL Team 6.
Oh.
You are the special forces that they send in to get stuff done. And you're finally able to confront the Emperor, who's an interesting villain that I want to talk a little bit about later. But you finally confront this guy who's responsible for the burning of your home, the devastation of basically the world.
Yeah.
And on a more personal note, he kills your parents.
Oh, asshole.
Yeah, he's the reason why you're orphaned. Well, his forces killed your parents. He didn't do it personally, but... And whenever you finally approach him, it's just this tiny little cutscene-like event that doesn't take very long. It wasn't... I can't imagine it was any harder to do than any other story element in the game. But it's just this great little moment where you approach his throne, and as you like cross the threshold and you're standing on his throne, like the platform that it rests on, your character, you lose control of it, of like the map movement, and Farayan, who is the avatar for the whole party, he represents the party on the map. He stops for a second, and then he just shimmies forward really slowly, and it breaks. I'm pretty sure it's tile-based movement, right? And it breaks that, and he just shimmies forward. Just like really deliberately, like a step at a time, right? And then he stops, and then the Emperor says, "I'm not even going to dirty my hands with the likes of you." And then he summons a couple of mounted knights, and in the opening of the game, I don't know if they're the exact same class or not, but they are close enough to the mounted knights that attack and defeat the party in the opening moments of the game, because that's how the game opens. Is your characters are running from their burning village, and they're run down by cavaliers. Yeah. And they're left for dead, and they're saved by a very powerful white mage that works with the rebel army. And it's really satisfying for him to summon, even if it's not the exact same like palette swap, he summons the same sprite that beat you in the start of the game, and you just fucking bat them away, you know? It's like, I cast Ultima, I cast Haste, and then attack you 16 times for 1,112 damage, and you die immediately. And then Gus is just like, I hit you with a big old axe, and you die. I don't even have to buff myself, you just got hit by my axe. And then it happens again. Farayan moves a few steps forward, right? Breaking that tile-based movement, and then stops, and the Emperor is like, well, that was okay, but how will you fare against this? And then he summons more enemies, and then you beat them. And then Forion gets right up in his face, right? Like right next to him. And the Emperor is like, I guess I'll take care of you myself after all. And then the battle against him starts. And it is... I'm playing it on a PlayStation, and it has updated graphics. And I don't know if in the original NES, well, Famicom, because it didn't come out in America, so it wouldn't have been on the NES. I don't know if that was a direct translation of that scene, of like that shimmying effect.
Yeah.
Like the slow stride towards this confrontation. I don't know if it was adapted from the original or not, but it is amazing how powerful that moment is, even with a presentation like it's on par with this.
Yeah.
Like this, I should mention right now, not what the characters look like whenever they transition to a battle scene.
Yeah, so it just looks like sweet pixel art.
Yeah, relatively tame, very cute. It's just it made me tremble a little bit, being like, yeah, you guys, you've done the impossible and you've grown into powerful warrior, mage, ninja fighters. You go kick the crap out of that demon army summoning ruler of the land. And it's amazing that I don't think I responded so viscerally to any scene in 7 or 9 or 10 or 13. Maybe 12, definitely not 8, but that's definitely a me thing. What you doing with Lucius? Oh, you're gonna
Getting
go
him a little closer to him so that
I see.
in a couple turns they'll be together.
I get it. And tomorrow I'm gonna talk about the mechanics, because that's the thing. Like, I was pleasantly surprised about how engrossing the story has become for me, because it's really light and it leaves a lot of room for me to imagine stuff.
Yeah.
I was more surprised and more happy to be as impressed with the mechanics as I have been.